the following assignment, plate 9, we're going to be looking at a multi-view drawing with a half-scale isometric drawing. Notice right here, this is the isometric drawing that I'm referring to. We're going to be taking a look at how to do dimensioning of an angled piece. We've looked at this before, but I'm going to just review it with you. We're also going to look at how to manipulate a drawing so that we don't have redundancy of arrowheads for our extension lines laying on top of each other for dimensions. We're also going to look at how to manipulate our lines that we are drawing for centers and hiddens so that they show up correctly on our drawings and not just solid lines. What I want to do first is I want to get started with creating this isometric drawing. Now before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and I've already gone through and turned off my UCS and my what is that thing called now? My view cube. So I've turned my view cube off and my icon off, just going under view. Now what I would like to do is I'd like to do a WS autosave, change my value to 1, and I'd like to give it a save as location of my 900 drive, and I am going to label it as the following. Okay, period, last name, first name, drawing number. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the isometric, like I said. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to my snap mode, not click on the grid, but click the next of it, change it to isometric, come over here. So now I'm in my isometric mode. And then don't forget F5 is what changes our orientation. So I'm going to start just by creating a simple box. Start kind of low. And notice I'm at a flexible angle here. I want to go F8. Locks me into my 30s and my 60s. I'm going to go 3.48. 3.848. My overall height is 2.625. I'm going to come back at, let's see here, 3.848. And I'm going to show you another little command. It's called close, which is C and enter. Takes us right back to our starting point. Come back into our line command again, right here, F5. And now our depth is going to be 1.5, enter. F5, and it's going to be a distance of 2.625, enter, and then again I'm going to use the close. And notice what happens when I did close that time. I didn't want that. I want it to be up here, so I can just grab the endpoint and move it there. So you have to be careful where you use close. If we started at this point and I hit close, then it would bring it to there, but since I started here, notice what it had done, it brought it down to here. So just, you can always manipulate it and fix it. So I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to use the copy command. Select the object, grab its endpoint and just move it over. And then I'm going to repeat the copy command again, selecting this object and just replacing it over here. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and locate where this center point of this circle is going to be. And we cannot use the offset command. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat, which is kind of a big bummer. But I'm going to just go ahead and pick a line right here at the center here. And I'm going to draw a distance going upwards of 1.25. Now, the reason why I can't use offset is because offset does not work in an isometric style. Watch this. So if I go in offset here, I type in my distance, 1.125, take my object, and I offset up. Do you notice that it's the wrong distance? Okay, so you cannot use offset. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and just simply copy this line from that point to there, selecting my original object and deleting it. I am going to need a distance from the back of my object to the center here of 2.16. So I'm going to come over here, and I don't really care what my starting point is. Whoops, wrong button, F5. I'm going to type in my distance, 2.160, enter. And I'm just going to draw a straight line going down. Make sure that you have ortho turned on, so it's perfect just like that. So I no longer need that line there. Now here's my intersecting point. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create this circle. I'm going to type in ellipse. I go ISO circle. It's going to ask for a center point, is right there. I go diameter, and I type in my distance of 1.40. No longer need this, no longer need this, so I can delete those. So now I have the placement of that circle. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create these angles here, this 45. Now, trying to draw a 45 in an isometric is very, very confusing. What we can do is we could do it a couple different ways. I could try drawing this angle over here, okay, and setting it up so that it draws it at a given number. Or I can simply use the math that I know will work. I'm given a distance from here to here. It's an unknown distance. Well, it's a known distance, but it's an uncalculated distance for us because it's not published. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the following. First off, I'm going to take and I'm going to draw a line going upwards. 1.875. Enter. F5. And I'm going to draw a line. I'm just going to simply move that over because that's going to be now this line right here. Okay? Or this line right here, however way you want to look at it. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate what the distance of 2.625 minus 1.875 is. I'm going to bring up my calculator, and I'm going to type in the following. 2.625 minus 1.875 equals 0.75. So I now know that I have to go from here to here is 0.75. Now, a 45-degree angle means that from here to here is going to be 0.75, and from here to the next line is also going to be 0.75. All right, that's just our good old math that's going to come back and help us here. So 0.75, let's draw that line nice and long. Okay, that's an oopsie. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here and connect endpoints. So now this would not work if it was a different angle. If it was a different angle, we'd have to go about it a little bit different of a way. Delete that line off. Delete that line off. Slide that point back. And then I can do the same thing here. Slide this point right to there. I could also use the trim command. Simple as that. I can delete this piece off right here. So now let's take a look at creating this back here, this chunk. Now this here is an angle, but it's not given to us in an angle. It's given to us in a numerical value. So let's go ahead and figure that out. From here, F5, I need to go up 1.688, enter, and then I'm going to simply just draw a line going backwards, just like that. I no longer need that, let's see here, I no longer need this line here, so we're going to delete that. Now I have to figure out what the distance from this corner to this line is. And I'm going to look and figure out it's going to be, let's zoom in here. Looks like it's 1.223. Let's just verify that. It is. You can barely see that one. For whatever reason, sometimes AutoCAD does that. Or not AutoCAD, but the PDFs do that. You lose a little bit of clarity in them. So I'm going to come in here, line F5, change my orientation, 1.223. And then I'm going to simply draw a line connecting down to there. Now, next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do some trimming here. And I'm not going to do a trim command. I'm going to simply do a delete. Grab that piece here and slide it back to the intersecting point right there. Now, I'm going to take, and I'm going to do this a little different. I'm going to delete this line here, and you're going to say, Mr. Q, why are you deleting that line? I'm going to show you why. Because I'm going to take and copy these. I don't want to do any more math. My brain already hurts. Okay, I'm going to copy this here, and I'm going to simply move back here. Notice that I kept that line so that I knew that everything would line up. So let's go ahead and do a trim, right click, and let's get rid of that piece there. Now, it still doesn't look quite right, because we're missing a line right here. So let's do an F5. Copy this line here. Let's go from here and place it right there. Simple as that. There is our isometric drawing. Now you're going to say, well, Mr. Q, we got a problem here. This object is supposed to be half scale, and we've drawn it at full scale. Well, I'm going to show you a cool little trick. So watch this. We're going to go ahead, we're going to come back in here, snap mode, back to rectangular, click OK. I'm going to draw a box around this entire object. I'm going to use the group command, G-R-O-U-P. Enter. I'm going to select this object. I'm going to type in scale. 0.5. Enter. Okay. And let's see here. Let's try that again. 0.5. Enter. So now I've drawn my object at half scale. So I'm going to take and I can move this now. Move command. I'm just going to grab what I appear to be the lower corner here, and I'm going to turn F8 off, and then that way it allows me to move it up into the corner. Now I can go ahead and start actually drawing the real object. So let's go ahead and use the rectangle command. And I'm going to start by drawing the following. I know my object needs to be 3.848 long. Oops. Let's do a Control Z on that. I'll try doing that again so I do it the right way this time. 3.848 tab. And then I want to go an overall height of 2.625. Enter. And there's my front of my object. And let's see here. So now let's go ahead and start adding some information into it. First thing is I'm going to take this object. I'm going to use the explode command. So now it's broken down into its individual items. Use offset 1.125. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to figure out where this circle is. So I'm going to go into offset again, and it is now 2.160. Alright, come into our circle command. De-enter 1.140. Simple as that. I no longer need these pieces of information. I can use the offset command again, 1.875, and offset upwards. I can now take and draw a line, give it an angle, and we're going to try to figure this out. So let me back up here for a second before I jump the gun. So right here, that's 90. This is 0, so I want to go at an angle of 90 plus 45, which is 135. Okay, so I'm going to go angle 135, enter, and I'm just going to simply draw the object. So sometimes we do have to think outside the box a little bit, but it's not that difficult. So let's go trim, pick these 3 items, right click, draw a box around them and delete them off. Now next thing, I no longer need this line right here, so let's go ahead and delete that. Let's use our offset again, 1.688. Take the object, offset it upwards, and then I'm going to take an offset over 1.223, offset over. All right. What happened to my first line? Let's go back here. Offsets 1.688. I don't know. I have no idea what happened to my first one. So now I can go ahead and create these lines from here to here. Okay. Green box, select those, delete them. Trim, right click, get rid of those. Okay, so there's my front view of my object. So next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to project some lines across so that we can get our right side view and our top view. So I'm going to simply draw a line from here, F8, straight across. I'm going to draw it nice and long, don't care if it goes outside my box. And I'm going to take and use the copy command. Copy. Right click. Anywhere that there is an intersecting point, here, 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 those are corners. Corners are represented in our right side view. There's also a couple other spots that are represented. Topmost point, bottommost point, and middle of a circle. And also we have a line that's over here that is represented. Okay. But thing is, it appears that that is right on top of this circle here. And let's take a look at it and make sure that it is or it is not. Okay, it's pretty darn close, but we'll just have to make sure that we change that. All right. So first things first, let's go ahead and look at getting a couple more lines in here. Let's see, our first line is going to be over here, just projecting down. I just picked a random spot, does not matter. And I'm going to offset that the distance of 1.5 because that's how thick our object is. All right. And I'm just going to use the trim command. Pick those as our boundaries, right click, and go ahead and delete those. Go ahead and delete those. Alright, so now we're in pretty good shape. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here, use the trim command again, right click, trim those, and trim those. So now we've got a nice clean slate to work off of. What I want to do is I want to come up here to my layers, and we're going to go into layer controls. You're going to notice that I've created some layers for us. So I'm going to click on the red layer here. And I'm going to load it as a 0.5. And I'm going to click on my hidden, and I'm going to load that as a 0.5 also. So let's go back over to our layers. Let's change this over to our center layer. And we're looking for the line that's right here. So let's select that line here. Change that over to center. And then we're going to take this line right here, this little line right here, and I'm going to fix that little line, and then this line right here. And I'm going to put those as hidden lines. Now, I forgot to deselect my middle one, so let's go back here, just change that back over, no big deal, just like that. Now that little line that I was talking about before, we got to make sure that we stretch that out. So I'm just going to go up here to trim, hit extend, right click, enter, right click, and select this item. Why is it not working? Alright, it's giving me a hard time. Try this again. Extend, right click, zoom in, and it's not liking that line. I don't know why. It's not happy with it. So let's just take and grab it, and let's just extend it over. We're going to go extreme. Come back here, trim, right click, enter, trim, right click, and select that piece. Okay, so now you should have two lines that are stacked very close to each other. So now that is pretty good. We have to fix our center line here so that it extends past, just like we see in our PDF. So let's go ahead and use the offset command of 0.125. And then let's use our extend again. Right click. Now our extend's working. Weird. Not sure why it didn't like that line, but it is what it is. So now there is our right side view. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to project straight up. Okay, obviously we don't want to project it up in our center layers, but we can change that. So let's go ahead and change that over to a 0 layer. Try that again. Change that over to our 0 layer. Change it over to our 0 layer. There we go. All right. Sometimes AutoCAD likes to fight us. So now we're going to go ahead and copy. Again, take that endpoint. And we're just going to simply use information that we already have. Simple as that. So now we have all of our objects. Let's just go ahead and do this color coordinating a little bit different this time. While it's fresh in our minds, we know that those are hidden lines right there. Hit escape, select this one here. We know that this is a center line right there, so that's good. So now let's go ahead and draw one line straight across. Boom, 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 just like that. And let's use our offset of 1.5. Not 10.5, 1.5. Select this, bring it downward, just like that. Enter. And let's do our trim. Right click, select those pieces there, and it never created that other part. So let's do a Control Z here. Let's do our offset 1.5. 1.5. Did this to me before. All right. Now let's do our trim. Let's do it the right way this time. Pick that and that as our boundaries. Right click. Now I can select that, and now I can select that. There we go. So next thing we're going to do is we are going to take an offset again, 0.125 or 1/8. Offset up, offset down, right click, cancel. Use the extend command, right click. Select those lines there, delete them. I'm going to do a save, just be on the safe side. All right, so next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go in here and we're going to dimension. So let's go under our layers, and let's see if we got a dimension line. We do, so that's great. So now we can go under annotate, and let's go under linear. And let's just zoom in here. And we're going to go ahead and place a dimension right over here like that. Zoom out here, and let's hit spacebar. Let's go ahead and put a dimension from here to here. Remember, larger dimensions always go to the outside, and then smaller dimensions go inside. Spacebar again. And this time, actually, I don't want to use spacebar. Let's go ahead and use the, let's see here, I want to use continue. Pick my object, and then I want to go over to the center of this circle. Alright, there's that. None. And do I need any other ones? Escape. I want to take this dimension here. I want to bring it down a little bit. I want to take its dimensional lines and bring it down a little bit. All right, I'm going to do that just a little bit more again, just to make it a little cleaner. Zoom in so I can get the alignment a little bit better. So that looks nice. All right. Now, next thing we're going to do is we are going to take and we're going to put this dimension here is 1.25, or excuse me, 23, 1.223. So I'm going to go under dimension, continue, continue this here. And we're going to go to this location right here. And we're going to say none. And I'm going to do another one from there to this point right here. So let's go ahead and go right to that intersecting point right there. And we're going to select none. Hit escape. Now let's go ahead and do a little cleanup here again. Select the correct line, bring it down, select the correct line, and see that one's going up, so let's take this one here, bring it down, so it's in the same plane as that one there. But did you notice what it did? Let's see, let me go back here, do a Control Z. Alright. Kind of made a mess of these dimensions, but that's okay, we can fix that. Even though it extended, do you notice how it put this other arrow here? We're going to go ahead and we're going to get rid of that arrow. So let's go ahead and go under properties. And once we're in properties, I want to make sure that we go under the arrowhead. And let's see here. We want to go extension line or dimension line. We want dimension line. I'm going to slide this over to the side here. I want dimension line off. There we go. Good guess. Let's slide that down. Let's take this here, slide this down. And then we're going to take this dimension here, slide it up, hit escape. For some reason, it made a mess out of, really made a mess out of that. I don't know why it did that. Shouldn't have done that. Let's see here. So let's go back into this dimension properties and see if there's one that's called leader. Extension line, dimension line. Let's see here. Extension. All right, so I can't find it. So let's go ahead and Let's just turn that arrow back on. It's not correct 100%, but I'm just going to do a Control Z. Get it back to where it was. Where it looked correct. And then we'll just simply move some stuff around here. Move this dimension down. Move this down. Take this here. That dimension needs to go up. Take this dimension here, bring it down. And then bring it back up and place it right there like that. Bring this up into here. Now again, it's not really true correct. This here should be shared arrowhead wise, just like you see here, but for whatever reason it's not being happy with that. Also, you're going to notice that our dimension is slightly different. Okay, sometimes that happens. Now it could be that I'm off slightly on my center of my circle. Okay. It could be that when I drew this, maybe my angle was a little bit different. But we just want to make sure that we have the same, we are sharing the correct points. We've put everything in correctly that we were supposed to. So that maybe our distance is just a little off. So that's okay though. This is a critical number, and this here was a critical number. So why this is a little different, who knows? But if you look here, if you add these up, physically these numbers cannot be what they say, because it says 1.223. Well, 3 plus 8 would be a 1, and that is a 0 there, so it'd have to be a 7 there. So we are correct on our dimension. Now, next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put in our 45-degree angle. So let's go over here, annotate, linear, and change it to angular. And let's give it a hypothetical like this here, just like that. So I picked here, and I picked on this line here. That way it gives me my hypothetical. And then we're going to come back in here to angular. Linear. I'm going to go from here to the center point of that circle there. And you're going to go, well, Mr. Q, we didn't put the center mark on the circle. You're right, we didn't. We're going to fix that in a minute. And I'm just going to simply stack another dimension here, just a little different this time. And I'm going to show you a trick that I'm going to do in a minute. So now I'm going to go under dimension here again. And I'm going to pick another point right here, and I'm going to go all the way to the top of the object, just like this here. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a little cleanup here on our dimensions, because all these dimensions should have the exact same extension line. So I'm going to come in here to this dimension here and this dimension here, and I'm going to try to see if I can turn off both of their extension lines at the same time. Let's see what we can do. Bingo. Alright, I was able to turn them both off. So now I can come in here, grab this here, bring it all the way back to here, hit escape 2 times. Now they all share the same one. I'll do the same thing with this. Up here, find the extension lines. And I'm going to try turning extension line 1 off, which didn't seem to do anything. So let's try turning extension line 2 off. So that worked this time. Grab this point here, bring it back to there, hit escape. And there we go. So that's just something nicely cleaned up. So I'm just going to bring this over a little bit. And I'm going to do something called stacking my dimensions. I don't know what that just did. It's definitely not stacking my dimensions. And all I'm trying to do, or nesting is another word that they'll use. And all I'm doing is I'm just trying to get my dimensions so that they're a little bit tighter and they don't interfere as much with the drawing. so there we go. So let's take a look at everything here. These all look nice. I got that dimension there. I've got this here, 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 here. I've got that dimension there. So the only other one that I'm missing is going to be this one here and the diameter. So let's go ahead and put those in. Linear from here to here. Beautiful. And let's do one more. Diameter. That circle right there like that. And last thing that we're going to do is we're going to type in center mark. Select our circle and place it. Now we're going to select it again and we're going to change the layer because we should have changed the layer beforehand, but now we got that. So now, see how we got these green lines sitting on top of the red lines? We don't want that. So we're going to grab this center point here. We're going to bring it up to there just like that. Select this one here. And we're going to bring that back to there. Okay. All right, so there's our drawing. Now, last thing that we're going to do is we're going to go in here, change our title block to all capitals, Multiview. Let's try that again, all caps. Multiview, Shift 7, 1/2, space, scale, isometric, enter, scale, 1 inch equals 1 inch, name, don't forget to come under here, paragraph, and then do your left justify if you need it. Hit enter. Period for me is, again, 9. Go ahead, put your plate. And this is 09. Make sure you get that space in there. Perfect, just like that. Do a Control S for save. And there you go. That's as simple as drawing. If you guys need any help with it, please don't forget to talk to your instructor, and good luck.